Ruth sat on a small wooden stool, staring at the dusty floor of her father's hut. She was just 21, yet life had already beaten her down. Her dress was torn at the sleeve, her feet were bare, and her stomach growled from hunger. She had only eaten a cup of Gary the whole day. Her father, Mr. Paul, paced outside like a restless goat. His debts in the village were too many. He owed the palm wine seller, the yam trader, and even the chief's son. And now he had a plan to save himself, by selling Ruth. That evening he called her out. "You are getting married tomorrow," he said, without looking her in the eyes. Ruth's heart dropped. "To who?" she asked. "To a man who can help this family." Ruth's eyes filled with tears. "But Papa, I'm not ready. I don't even know him." Paul raised his hand. "If you refuse, don't come back into this house. You will sleep outside like a stray dog." That night Ruth cried herself to sleep. The next day there was no music, no celebration, no cake. Ruth wore an old gown that didn't fit well, and her hair was covered with a scarf. The villagers whispered and laughed as she was handed over to a man they called Daniel. Daniel looked quiet. His clothes were faded, his slippers worn out, and his house was far at the edge of the village. No one knew much about him, except that he had no friends, no family, and worked as a local carpenter. "Welcome," he said gently as she stepped into his small house. "You can take the bed. I'll sleep on the floor." Ruth was shocked. She had expected to be treated like a slave. But Daniel treated her with kindness. He gave her food, fetched water for her, and never raised his voice. 1 week after their quiet wedding, Daniel sat outside their small house, looking at the sky as the sun slowly disappeared behind the hills. Ruth was inside, sweeping the floor and humming a soft tune. She had slowly become more comfortable around him. She no longer sat in silence or stared at the wall all day. She now smiled a little and even laughed sometimes. "Ruth," Daniel called softly. She came outside, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "Yes?" "I've been thinking. It's time we moved to the city." Ruth looked at him with surprise. "City?" "Yes," he nodded. "I've saved some money. We can rent a small apartment and start life there. I'll continue my carpentry work." Ruth didn't answer immediately. She sat on the wooden bench beside him and looked at the ground. "Daniel, are you sure?" she asked. "You only know how to make local chairs and tables. You don't know the new designs. People in the city won't buy from you." Daniel smiled. "I know, but don't worry. If nobody patronizes me, I will look for another job. I can work in a workshop, carry wood, or even drive. I'm not afraid of starting small." Ruth sighed. "I'm just scared. The city is not like the village." "I know, but we can't stay here forever. This place is not good for our future," Daniel said. "Even if we start from one room, at least we will be moving forward." Ruth looked into his eyes. There was no pride in his voice, just hope. He wasn't forcing her. He was asking her to join him in his dream. "Okay," she finally said. "Let's go. I'm ready." Daniel smiled. "Thank you, Ruth." The next morning they packed their small bags. Ruth had only 3 dresses and Daniel had 2 trousers and a toolbox. They boarded an old bus from the village to the city. The journey was long and dusty. The road was bad. At one point the bus stopped because the engine overheated and everyone had to come down. When they finally arrived in the city by evening, the noise shocked Ruth. The streets were full of people, cars honking, sellers shouting, and smoke rising from roadside food stalls. "Daniel, this place is too busy," Ruth whispered, holding his hand tightly. He laughed. "You'll get used to it." They entered a small cafe that took them to a quiet street. Daniel had already paid for a 1-room apartment in advance. When they got there, the landlord gave them the key. The room was small. 1 bed, a fan, and a window. But it was clean. Ruth sat on the bed and smiled. "It's small, but it's our own." The next morning, Daniel dressed up and went to look for carpentry work. Ruth stayed behind and cleaned the room. She arranged the few plates they had, spread the wrapper neatly on the bed, and boiled rice with the little kerosene they had. Daniel came back in the evening, looking tired. "How was it?" Ruth asked. "Hard," he said. "I went to 4 workshops. One said they have no space. The other 3 said they only work with people who know modern furniture design." "I told you," Ruth whispered. City people like shiny chairs and Italian beds. They don't want our village stools. Daniel nodded. But one workshop said they might need someone to carry wood and sandpaper. I told them I'm ready. Ruth looked at him, her eyes soft. Thank you for not giving up. Daniel smiled. For you, I won't give up. The next few days were hard. Daniel would go out early and return late with small money. Ruth started making small chin-chin and buns to sell in front of their compound. At first, only children came to buy. Then neighbors started tasting it. One woman came and said, My sister, your chin-chin is sweet, oh. You should make more. So Ruth made more. Soon people came from nearby streets to buy. One woman even asked her to supply for a small party. Daniel noticed and said, Your hands are blessed. Ruth laughed. At least one person in this house has talent. Daniel touched her shoulder. Don't say that. I believe my time will come. One Saturday morning, Daniel's phone rang. He almost ignored it because the number was unknown, but something told him to answer. Hello, he said. Is this Mr. Daniel Kingsley? A deep voice asked. Daniel's heart skipped. Yes? This is Mr. Johnson from Grand Royale Furniture. We got your application. Can you come in for an interview on Monday morning? Daniel was confused. Sorry, which application? The man chuckled. A woman dropped your name and sample works at our office 2 weeks ago. Daniel turned and looked at Ruth, who was pretending to sweep the corner of the room. After the call, he walked to her. Ruth, did you send my pictures and details to a company? She dropped the broom. I saw some of your sketches and thought they were good. So I took them to a furniture company. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to raise your hope. Daniel was speechless. You believe in me that much? Ruth nodded. More than you believe in yourself. He pulled her into a tight hug. You are not just my wife, he whispered. You are my helper. Monday morning came like a fresh breeze. Daniel dressed neatly in his cleanest shirt and trousers. Ruth helped him brush his collar and packed his small bag with a bottle of water and groundnut. He looked nervous, but she held his hand. You will do well, she said. Daniel smiled. Pray for me. I already did, she replied, kissing his forehead. After he left, Ruth sat quietly in the room. She wasn't in the mood to go out or do anything. She sat near the window, watching people pass by, thinking about her new life in the city. That was when she heard a knock on the door. Who is it? She asked. It's me, Luciana, a loud voice answered. Ruth stood up slowly and opened the door. Luciana walked in, wearing tight jeans, long eyelashes, red lipstick and high heels. She chewed her gum loudly and looked around the small room like she had entered a chicken coop. So this is where you live? Luciana asked, raising her eyebrows. Yes, Ruth said calmly. Luciana laughed. Wow, I still can't believe it. Ruth, the village beauty queen, now married to that poor carpenter called Daniel. You're sitting inside this small room, looking like a prisoner. I swear, you shocked me. Ruth looked at her. Luciana, is this what you came to talk about? Luciana placed her hand on her hip. My dear, you are too beautiful for this kind of life. You should be in a nice office with AC blowing your hair, not sitting here like one village wife. Ruth folded her arms. Luciana leaned in closer. Tell me the truth. Is it because of the way Daniel touches you in bed? Maybe he's too good in that area and you don't want to let go. Are you mad? Ruth asked, rising to her feet. Luciana raised her hands playfully. Relax now. I'm just saying the truth. You're suffering for nothing. I know a man, handsome, rich, drives a black Jeep, single. He can remove you from this poverty. Ruth's face changed. You came to my house to insult my husband and offer me another man like I'm some lost dog looking for food. Luciana blinked. I'm just helping. Shut your mouth, Ruth shouted. You want to help me? Help yourself first. Look at you jumping from man to man. You're single and bitter. That's why you want me to throw away my home and become like you. Never. Luciana's face turned red. Are you calling me bitter? Ruth pointed at the door. Get out of my house, Luciana. Don't ever come here again. Avoid me, please. You evil woman. Because you're alone, you want to destroy what I have. I will never leave my marriage. Not for you, not for your rich boyfriend, not for anybody. Luciana hissed and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Ruth stood in the center of the room, shaking with anger. She sat down and whispered to herself, "Peace is better than riches without respect. I didn't marry Daniel for money. I married him because he gave me peace." By evening, the sun had gone down and the wind outside was cool. Ruth sat quietly in the room, her hands resting on her lap. Her mind kept going back to everything Luciana had said. The insults, the mockery, the wicked advice. She heard Daniel's footsteps outside. A soft knock followed. She stood up and opened the door. He stepped in, looking tired but smiling. "I'm back." "Welcome," Ruth said, helping him remove his bag. He sat down on the bed and stretched. "Today went well. They asked me to come again tomorrow. The manager said he likes my work." Ruth smiled faintly, but her heart was heavy. Daniel noticed. "What's wrong?" She sat beside him and sighed deeply. "Something happened after you left this morning." Daniel turned to her. "What is it?" She told him everything, how Luciana came, what she said about him being poor and ugly, how she laughed at their small room, and how she suggested Ruth leave him for a rich man. When Ruth mentioned the part where Luciana said maybe Daniel was only good in bed, his face changed. Daniel clenched his fists. "She said that?" Ruth nodded slowly. "She insulted you, insulted me, and tried to scatter our home." Daniel shook his head, hurt but calm. "That girl is foolish," he said. "She doesn't know you. She doesn't understand the kind of woman you are. You are not like her. She sleeps with different men in this neighborhood. Some married, some young boys. She has no shame." Ruth listened quietly. "She sees your beauty and thinks you're like her," Daniel added. "But you're different. You are a treasure, Ruth." Tears gathered in Ruth's eyes. Daniel held her hand. "Please, my beautiful wife, promise me something." "What?" she asked. "Don't ever speak to her again. Stay away from that evil girl. She is not your friend. She doesn't wish you well. I don't want her spoiling your heart with her useless words." Ruth nodded. "I promise." Daniel looked at her, his eyes full of emotion. "Thank you, Ruth." She wiped her tears. "For what?" "For loving me, for choosing me, for not being deceived by people like Luciana. I know I don't have much. I know I'm not rich or famous. But you see me. You believe in me. That alone gives me strength." Ruth placed her head on his shoulder. "I didn't marry your pocket, Daniel. I married your heart." He held her close, and for a long moment they sat in silence. No noise, no trouble. Just two people holding each other, stronger than the storm that tried to shake them. A week had passed since Ruth chased Luciana out of their home. Things had become more peaceful again. Daniel woke early every day, went to work, and returned with stories of hope. Ruth would sit and listen, with smiles on her face and joy in her heart. Daniel's job at the furniture company was going well. He had impressed everyone with his creativity and neat carpentry work. His boss, Mr. Benson, was a rich and powerful man. Though he was strict, he liked Daniel because of his humility and discipline. One sunny afternoon, after Daniel finished fixing a beautiful wooden table, Mr. Benson called him into the office. "Daniel, come and sit," he said, waving his hand. Daniel sat quietly. "You know, since you came here, I've heard nothing but good reports about you," Mr. Benson said. "Your work is excellent. You come early. You respect everybody. I like that." "Thank you, sir," Daniel replied humbly. "But there's something else I've been meaning to say," Mr. Benson continued. "You talk about your wife a lot. Every time someone asks why you work so hard, you say, 'My wife deserves better.' When we talk about peace, you say, 'My wife gives me peace.' When we talk about blessings, you say, 'My wife is my biggest blessing.'" Daniel smiled shyly. Mr. Benson leaned forward. "Now I want to meet this special woman. You've made her sound like an angel." Daniel's eyes widened. "You want to meet her?" "Yes," Mr. Benson nodded. "In fact, I might even find something for her to do in one of my companies." Daniel's eyes dropped. "Sir, she has no certificate. She didn't finish school. She has no office experience." Mr. Benson waved his hand. "It doesn't matter. We'll train her. Sometimes a good heart is better than a certificate. Just tell her to come. I want to meet the woman behind the man." Daniel stood up, his heart beating fast. Thank you, sir. I'll tell her. As Daniel left the office, he couldn't stop smiling. His steps were lighter, his chest full of joy. I can't wait for him to meet Ruth, he thought. Let him see the beauty I see every day. That evening, Daniel came home from work, looking excited. He opened the door with a wide smile and walked straight to Ruth. "Guess what?" he said, almost bouncing. Ruth looked up slowly. "What happened?" Daniel sat beside her, took her hand and said, "My boss wants to meet you." "Me?" Ruth's eyes widened. "Yes," Daniel grinned. "He said I talk about you all the time. I told him how you've stood by me, how you supported me, and how you've given me peace. He wants to meet the woman behind my strength." Ruth immediately shook her head. No, Daniel. Please, I can't go." "What will I say?" "I don't belong in that kind of office." "What if I embarrass you?" Daniel held her hand tighter. "You won't embarrass me, Ruth. In fact, he said he might even give you work in one of his companies." "What?" Ruth looked completely shocked. "Yes," Daniel nodded. "He said you don't need experience or a certificate. He will train you if needed." Ruth pulled her hand away and stood up. "I don't think I can do it. I've never entered a company before. I don't know how to talk like city women. What if I sit wrongly or say something wrong?" Daniel stood too and walked up to her. "Listen to me, Ruth. You have what many people with degrees don't have: respect, humility, wisdom, and a good heart. That's what my boss saw through me. That's what he wants to see in you." Ruth turned her face away, still unsure. "But my dress is old. I don't even have shoes that match. What will I wear?" Daniel placed his hands gently on her shoulders. "You don't need expensive clothes to show who you are. Your beauty already speaks. Your heart shines through your smile. Just go there, be yourself, and let him meet the woman I talk about every day." Ruth was quiet for a while. She looked into Daniel's eyes and saw the truth. He believed in her, even more than she believed in herself. She sighed deeply. "You're sure I won't disgrace you?" Daniel smiled. "If anyone will be proud, it's me. You are my crown, Ruth. You're the one who helped me rise. Let the world meet the reason I'm standing today." Ruth nodded slowly, still nervous, but something in her heart felt warm. The next day, Ruth got ready slowly. She was still nervous, but Daniel had convinced her the night before. He had told her over and over again, "Don't be scared. Just go and meet him. He only wants to talk and see you. He's a good man." So she wore her best gown, packed her natural hair neatly, and left the house. The company was big, glass building, clean compound, security men standing like statues. When Ruth entered, her legs were shaking. She told the receptionist her name, and after a short wait, she was asked to go upstairs. She knocked gently on Mr. Benson's office door. "Come in," he said. Ruth entered and stood by the door, holding her small bag tightly. Mr. Benson looked up from his table. "Oh, you're Ruth." "Yes, sir," she said politely. He stood up slowly and smiled. "Please sit down." Ruth sat on the edge of the chair, nervous but calm. He looked at her for a few seconds and then said, "You're actually very pretty. I see why Daniel speaks so highly of you." "Thank you, sir," Ruth replied with a small nod. He leaned forward on his desk. "You're a very lucky woman. Daniel is a good worker, honest, humble, hard-working. He's one of the best I've seen in a while." Ruth smiled a little. "Thank you, sir. He always talks about how much he respects you." Mr. Benson chuckled. "That's nice. But tell me something, Ruth. Do you really enjoy living with a man like Daniel?" Ruth raised her brow. "Sir? I mean, you're a young, fine woman. Daniel is a carpenter, simple, struggling. Look at me now. I'm successful. I own this company. I have many houses. I travel. I know big people. Don't you think you deserve more?" Ruth frowned. "Sir, I don't understand." Mr. Benson stood up slowly and walked to the front of the desk, standing close to her. "What I mean is, if you were with someone like me, your life would change completely. You wouldn't have to live in a one-room apartment or wear cheap clothes. Look at you. You're beautiful, but you're wasting in poverty." Ruth stood up immediately. "Sir, is this why you called me here?" Mr. Benson raised his hand calmly. "Relax, I'm just saying the truth. See, you don't have a job, no certificate, no future plan. I can help you. But if we work together, maybe something more can happen." Ruth took one step back. "Sir, please. I'm not comfortable with what you're saying." Mr. Benson's smile faded. "Why? Are you pretending? You act holy because of Daniel? You think I don't know your story? You're just a poor village girl that your father sold to a man. Don't act like you're a queen." Ruth's voice rose. "You're a disgrace, sir. You told my husband you wanted to help me, but you called me here to insult me and disrespect my marriage. Shame on you," he hissed. "I was trying to help you, you ungrateful girl. You and your poor carpenter husband will remain in that tiny room forever." Ruth stepped forward with fire in her eyes. "Yes, I'm poor. Yes, I don't have a certificate, but I have dignity, something your money can't buy. You are old enough to be my father, yet you talk like a street boy. You wear fine suits, drive big cars, but your character is dirty." He pointed at the door. "Leave my office." Ruth laughed boldly. "You don't need to tell me twice, but hear me well. Don't you ever speak about my husband again. You're not even worthy to clean his shoes. If I ever see you near my house or hear your name again, you'll know that peace is not my weakness." She walked out of his office with her head high, leaving Mr. Benson standing there, fuming like a generator with no fuel. Ruth walked home fast, her legs moving like fire. The sun was hot, but her anger was hotter. Her heart beat loudly in her chest as she replayed every word Mr. Benson had said. The insult, the disrespect, the way he looked at her like a toy. She pushed the door open and sat on the bed, breathing heavily. So this is the kind of man Daniel is working for, she thought. A rich animal in human clothes. She had just picked up her wrapper to change when her small phone started to ring. Unknown number. She frowned and answered. "Hello?" A calm, deep voice came from the other end. "Ruth, it's me, Mr. Benson." She froze. Her eyes widened. "How did you get my number?" He chuckled lightly. "Have you forgotten I'm the boss? I can get anything I want." Ruth stood up slowly, her anger rising again. "What do you want?" "I just called to say you should calm down," he said slowly. "Don't tell your husband about what happened today. If you do, I'll fire him. I'm not joking." Ruth's mouth dropped open. "What?" "Yes," Mr. Benson continued. "Daniel needs this job. If he loses it, what will you people eat? You want to go back to frying buns and soaking Gary every day." Ruth was quiet for a few seconds, her hands shaking. Then she asked, "So this is your plan?" "I'm giving you time," he said, like he was doing her a favor. "Think about it. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm just saying, if you agree to be with me, small time, I will change your life. You'll wear gold, drive cars, travel. Just give it time. I know you're smart." Ruth closed her eyes, pressing her lips together. The room was silent for a while. Then she exploded. "Shame on you, Mr. Benson." He didn't reply. "You are a grown man, and this is what you use your power for, threatening a poor man's wife. You think I'll fear you because you're rich. You don't know me. Calm down." "No, I won't calm down," Ruth shouted. "You say you're not married. You have money. You have cars. Yet no woman wants you. Have you sat down to ask yourself why? It's because you are useless, heartless, and full of pride." Mr. Benson hissed quietly. "Go and look for your age mates," Ruth continued. "There are many old, lonely women like you out there. Go and disturb them. Stop chasing young girls like a hungry goat." "Ruth?" "Don't Ruth me," she fired back, "and don't ever call this number again. If you try to sack my husband, I swear the whole world will know the kind of man you are. I will shout. I will post your name on every wall in this city. I'm not afraid of you." With that, she ended the call and threw the phone on the bed. Her heart was still beating fast. She was shaking, but not from fear, from courage. Courage that came from knowing she had done the right thing. She sat down, staring at the wall. "I don't care what happens next," she whispered, "but I will never betray Daniel, never." That evening, the air inside their small room was thick. Ruth sat on the edge of the bed, her mind full of everything that had happened. Mr. Benson's shameless words still echoed in her ears like a bad song. But her heart was calm. She had stood her ground. She had protected her marriage. The door creaked open slowly and Daniel stepped in. He looked tired but hopeful. "Ruth," he called softly. She looked up, her eyes serious. Daniel sat beside her. "How did it go?" There was a long pause. Ruth took a deep breath and began, "Daniel, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully." Daniel frowned, sitting up straight. She told him everything. From the moment she stepped into Mr. Benson's office, how he praised her, then turned around and insulted both of them. How he later called her and warned her not to tell Daniel, threatening to sack him, and how he promised riches if she agreed to give herself to him. Daniel's eyes widened, his jaw tightened, and his fists clenched. "That devil," he muttered. "I'll go there tomorrow and face him like a man. He can't insult my wife and go free." "No, Daniel," Ruth said, gently holding his hand. "You will not go there. You will not beg him. You will not fight him." "Then what do you expect me to do? Keep working for a man who tried to destroy our home?" Ruth looked into his eyes. "You're going to stop working there." Daniel blinked. "Stop working?" "Yes," Ruth said firmly. "Leave that place. Don't wait for him to sack you. Quit with your head high. Let him keep his job, his money, and his dirty character." "You're better than that." Daniel sighed. "But Ruth, what will we do? We need money." She smiled. "We'll sell buns." Daniel stared at her. "Yes," she nodded. "You remember when I was selling buns before? The neighbors loved it. Some even asked me to supply for parties. We can make it bigger now. You'll help me. I'll do the frying. You'll package, deliver, and market it. We can call it Ruth and Daniel's Fresh Buns." Daniel was quiet for a moment, then he smiled. "So, I'll be your business partner?" Ruth laughed. "Exactly. Partner in love, partner in hustle." Daniel chuckled, shaking his head. "Me? From carpenter to bun seller?" She leaned closer. "Yes, and from poor to prosperous. Slowly but surely. We'll build something that no man can take from us." Daniel grabbed both her hands. "Ruth, I love you more than anything. And if this is what you want, if this is what gives us peace, I'm ready. Let's do it together." She hugged him tightly, her eyes full of emotion. "We may be poor today, but we have something rich men don't have. Real love." Daniel whispered, "Tomorrow morning, we start fresh." 2 days later, the morning sun was already hot, and the street was busy. In front of their small apartment, Daniel was sitting near a local stove, carefully turning golden brown buns inside a wide frying pan. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but he didn't care. Ruth had gone to the market to buy more ingredients, and someone had to keep the fire going. The aroma of the buns filled the street, and 2 customers had already stopped by to buy some. "Wow, your buns are sweeto," one woman said. "Thank you," Daniel replied with a proud smile, "fresh and clean, straight from my heart." But as soon as the woman left, trouble arrived. Luciana. She came walking in like a hurricane, wearing tight jeans and a loud yellow blouse. Her makeup was too much, and her chewing gum was louder than her footsteps. She stopped in front of Daniel, folded her arms, and hissed long and hard. "So it's true," she said loudly. "Daniel the carpenter has now become Daniel the bun seller." Daniel didn't look up. He continued turning the buns carefully. Luciana scoffed. "Where is your queen, Madame Ruth the buns princess? Or has she left you already for someone richer?" Daniel finally looked at her. "What do you want, Luciana?" Luciana smiled. "We heard everything. Your boss tried to help Ruth, and you opened that your big bushy mouth to stop her. You're very foolish, Daniel, very, very foolish. At least Mr. Benson would have paid you off. You could use the money to start something big. But you, look at you, frying chin-chin and buns on the roadside like one abandoned man." Daniel raised his eyebrow. "Are you done?" Luciana laughed loud enough for people across the street to hear. "You're a disgrace. See the kind of work you're doing. No wonder you were dumped by progress. You're poor, you're useless, and now your wife is wasting her beauty on someone like you." Daniel wiped his hands with a cloth. He looked Luciana in the eye and spoke calmly but firmly. "You have a very loud mouth for someone with an empty heart." Luciana frowned. "What did you say?" "I said you are a loose dog," Daniel continued. "You've slept with half the men in this area. Married men, drivers, security guards, even jobless boys that still collect money from their mothers. You walk around with your cheap wig and red lipstick, thinking you're better than people who work hard." Luciana gasped. "How dare you? "No, how dare you?" Daniel shouted. "How dare you come to my shop and insult me while I'm working to build something with my wife? At least I'm not begging men for airtime. I'm not entering cars at night just to buy fake iPhones." People had started looking from nearby shops. "Luciana," Daniel said, pointing at her, "you are the real disgrace. You dress like a queen, but act like a desperate rat. You call me useless, but I have something you will never have: peace, love, respect. A wife who stands by me." Luciana looked around and saw people staring. Her face turned red with shame. Daniel stepped forward. "Go and fix your broken life before coming to talk about mine. You're not even qualified to talk to my shadow." "Rubbish," Luciana hissed and turned to leave, but Daniel added, "Next time you come here to open that smelling mouth, I will fry you together with the buns." Luciana stormed off without another word, her wig shaking with each angry step. Daniel sat back down, took a deep breath, and whispered to himself, "Nobody can scatter my home, not even the devil in lipstick." 1 month passed like wind. Ruth and Daniel's small buns business was moving slowly but steadily. They didn't have much, but every day they made sales and managed to eat well. The laughter was back in their home. The shame was gone. People in the neighborhood even started respecting them, saying things like, "This couple really love themselves," and "They are building their future with their own hands." One bright afternoon, Ruth returned from the market with a wide smile on her face and a small black nylon full of cash. "Daniel," she called with joy. Daniel came out, wiping his hands. "You're smiling like someone who won a lottery." Ruth laughed. "In fact, I did." She opened the nylon and poured the money on the bed. "I've been saving secretly, and now it's enough for you to start a small workshop for your carpentry work." Daniel was shocked. "You did what?" "I know it's your dream," Ruth said. "You left carpentry because of all the stress and insults, but you're good at it. You can buy some tools and rent a small space. I want you to go back and grow again." Daniel stood there, quiet, touched. He stared at the money, then at Ruth. "You saved all this? For me?" he asked softly. "Yes," she nodded. "It's your turn now." But Daniel shook his head. "No, Ruth. You've worked hard. Use the money to grow your business. Buy more flour, rent a kiosk, print your label, expand Ruth's buns. My time will come." But Ruth was firm. "No, Daniel, you've helped me enough. Now it's my joy to help you." Daniel smiled with pride. "I married a rare gem." Just then, Daniel's phone began to ring. He looked at the screen and frowned. "Who is it?" Ruth asked. Daniel sighed. "It's Mr. Benson." Ruth's face changed instantly. Daniel picked up slowly. "Hello?" Mr. Benson's voice came through. "Daniel, it's me. I know you may not want to hear my voice, but please, listen." Daniel didn't speak. "I want to apologize," Mr. Benson continued. "I was wrong for everything I said to your wife. I disrespected her. I disrespected you. I don't have an excuse, but I'm deeply sorry." Daniel still said nothing. "I've been thinking about everything," Mr. Benson went on. "Please come to my house this weekend. Bring your wife. I want to apologize face to face, and on Monday you can return to work. Your salary has been increased. I want peace." Daniel finally spoke. "With all due respect, sir, how dare you try to win my woman behind my back and now act like nothing happened?" There was silence. "I deserve that," Mr. Benson replied. "It was the devil, Daniel. I've been battling with many things, but I promise you, what I did was not me. I lost control. I just want to make things right." Daniel exhaled. "All right, sir. See you this weekend." He ended the call. The moment he turned around, Ruth was already staring at him, arms crossed, her face tight with disappointment. "I knew it," she said coldly. "I knew that was your boss. And you agreed." Daniel raised his hands. "Ruth, please listen." "You agreed we are going to his house this weekend?" Ruth asked angrily. "After everything he said to me? After he insulted me and called me names?" Daniel stepped closer. "I didn't agree because I'm weak. I agreed because I want to end this matter properly." Face to face. Ruth shook her head. "I'm disappointed in you. You know what he did. You heard what he said. Now he waves money and promotion, and you forget all the pain." Daniel touched her arm gently. "No, Ruth, I didn't forget. I just believe in second chances." He sounded truly sorry. Ruth pulled her arm away. What if it's a trap? What if it's set up? What if we go there and he does something terrible, or even tries to unalive us both? Daniel sighed deeply. No, Ruth. Mr. Benson can't hurt a fly. He's not like that. Ruth's eyes narrowed. How come you suddenly know so much about him? Daniel looked at the ground. It's not like that. I've heard people talking. They say he's harsh, but he's not violent. They say he's struggling with personal issues. He was once married, but his wife left him because of his mouth. He says things he doesn't mean. He pushes people away. Ruth folded her arms again. And you believe that? Daniel nodded slowly. I want to believe people can change. If he truly wants to apologize, let's hear him out. If he shows one sign of nonsense, we walk out. There was silence between them. Ruth finally sat down, rubbing her forehead. I don't trust that man. I know, Daniel said, and if you say no, we won't go. She looked at him for a long moment, then sighed. Fine, but I'm going there with one eye open and one eye closed. Daniel smiled. That's my queen. But if he tries anything funny, Ruth added, I will slap the demon out of him in front of his security. They both laughed. But inside their hearts were heavy with mixed feelings. The weekend arrived faster than Ruth expected. She dressed slowly that morning, her heart still full of mixed feelings. Daniel had promised that everything would go well, but a part of her couldn't shake the fear. She hadn't forgotten what Mr. Benson had said and done. Daniel wore his best shirt and jeans. He stood by the door, watching her get ready. You look beautiful, he said softly. Thank you, Ruth replied without smiling. They entered a small cab and made their way through the city. As they reached Mr. Benson's neighborhood, Ruth's eyes began to widen. The streets were clean, lined with flowers and shiny streetlights. Every house they passed looked like something from a magazine. When the cab turned and stopped in front of a tall black gate, Ruth gasped. This is it? Daniel nodded. The gate opened slowly, revealing a massive white mansion with glass doors, shiny cars parked outside, a swimming pool and green grass everywhere. Ruth stepped out, her mouth slightly open. Daniel, this house is like a palace. I can't wait for you to have something like this one day. Daniel smiled. I already do. Ruth looked at him. What do you mean? Daniel chuckled. Nothing, just joking. They walked in hand, and were welcomed by two uniformed staff who led them into the living room. The place was shining from top to bottom. Marble floors, expensive furniture, paintings on the wall, and a sweet smell in the air. Then Mr. Benson walked in, dressed in a simple native attire, looking calm and humble, nothing like the proud man Ruth had met weeks ago. He walked straight to her and Daniel and greeted them quietly. Ruth, Daniel, he began. First, I want to say I'm deeply sorry for everything I said and did. I disrespected your marriage. I insulted you. I let pride lead me. I was wrong. Ruth didn't speak at first. She just looked at him. Mr. Benson continued, I've had time to think. And my son, Daniel, he told me so much about you. He said you're the reason he stood back on his feet. He said you're strong, loyal, and full of fire. And now that I see it with my eyes, I believe him. Ruth blinked. Wait, your son? What do you mean, your son? Mr. Benson and Daniel both went silent. Ruth turned to Daniel. Daniel, what is going on? Daniel took her hand gently. Ruth, please, don't be angry. I wanted to tell you before, but I didn't know how. Mr. Benson, he's my father. Ruth pulled her hand away, her eyes wide. What? Your father? How? Why didn't you tell me? Daniel sighed. It's a long story. Years ago I was in a bad place. I had trusted people who used me and left me empty. I lost everything. My father, Mr. Benson, saw how broken I was. He advised me to go far away from the city, to a village, and find someone real, someone who would love me for me. Mr. Benson nodded slowly. I told him, go and find a woman who sees your heart, not your pocket. He didn't like the idea at first, but he obeyed me, and he found you. Ruth sat down slowly, overwhelmed. Daniel knelt beside her. I didn't plan to marry you out of pity. I fell in love with you, Ruth. I love you deeply. That day at your father's house, when he gave you to me like a gift, I saw pain in your eyes, but I also saw strength. And every day since then, you've made me a better man." Ruth looked at him with tears forming in her eyes. Mr. Benson stepped closer. "And now I want to right another wrong. That wedding in the village. It was rushed, small, no honor. In 2 weeks, we're doing it again, a proper church wedding. One that suits the queen you are." Ruth wiped her eyes, but didn't say a word. Daniel continued, "I wanted to surprise you, but I see now I should have told you everything from the beginning. I'm sorry. I just didn't want to lose the peace we've built." Mr. Benson added softly, "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please, for my son's sake, and for the future we're all about to build together, let's move forward." The room was quiet. The only sound was the gentle hum of the air conditioner. Then Ruth stood up, looked at both of them, and sighed deeply. "I was angry," she said, "hurt and shocked. But now, I understand." She looked at Daniel. "You should have told me the truth." Daniel bowed his head. "I know." She touched his cheek gently. "But I forgive you." Daniel's eyes brightened instantly. She turned to Mr. Benson. "And you? You're lucky I'm a woman of peace. Don't ever let pride turn you into a monster again." Mr. Benson smiled gratefully. "I promise." Ruth looked around the house again. "This place is beautiful, but it's not the mansion that makes me happy. It's the people inside." Daniel stood up and hugged her tightly. Mr. Benson watched with a smile on his face. 1 week after Ruth and Daniel's grand church wedding, news spread like wildfire, even reaching the ears of Ruth's father in the village. Shocked and ashamed, he called her for the first time in months. "My daughter," he said in a shaky voice, "please forgive me. I sold you like a goat. I was blind." Ruth took a deep breath. "Papa, I forgave you long ago, but I can't forget. I've moved on. I wish you well, but I will never return to that life." He was silent. Then the call ended. From that day, Ruth never looked back. She and Daniel built a new life, full of love, laughter, and peace. Side by side, they ran their businesses, walked through storms, and danced in their victories. And together, they lived happily ever after. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.